Hey there, everyone. It's Anthony Avina, and welcome to another episode of my podcast reading. We are in Chapter 2. Last time we left off, Detective Clark Young, or not detective, FBI agent Clark Young, was entering the home of his serial killer suspect, Thomas King. And they had just stumbled onto a set of stairs leading to a cellar of sorts. So without further ado, here is Section 3 of Chapter 2 of my book, Epicenter. I hope you guys enjoy. Section 3. The cellar was like something out of a horror movie. The first floor of the modern home was neat, pristine, and filled with art and furniture that spoke to the doctor's scientific and sophisticated mind. However, upon entering the dimly lit and dank-smelling cellar, it was apparent that Thomas King was harboring a dark side to his personality. The walls were made of cobblestone, and water dripped in places on the walls and ceiling. I looked back at Jake, gave him the thumbs up, and we began to move forward, down a dark hallway that smelled of bleach and unknown chemicals. We both pulled out our flashlights and slowly made our way down the hall. Each step we took made a loud echo move down the hall ahead of us, and mixed with the loud pitter-patter of dripping water. As we walked on, the smell of chemicals grew stronger, and I knew we were getting nearer to the source of the screaming man and woman. Ahead of us, a bright white light poured from an open doorway. Jake and I clicked off our lights and pointed our firearms ahead of us, convinced that Thomas King and his latest victims were waiting in the lit room. As we got to the doorway, we began to hear a loud voice booming in the next room. "Quit your prattling, you pathetic cow. I am on the verge of the greatest scientific breakthrough in the history of man, and I will not let it be ruined by your pathetic cries for help. No one is coming for you. No one knows where we're at and what I'm doing here. You are the last two victims I'll ever have to kill and abduct. But with your sacrifice, I'll save this planet," spoke a man, and I could only assume it was Dr. King. "Please, don't do this. We're not ready to die," a woman spoke in response, crying and begging for her life. "Please, man, you can take me, but let my girlfriend go," a second man spoke, with pain and fear creeping into his voice. "Will you two shut the fuck up? What part of save humanity don't you understand?" "Save humanity from what?" the girl asked between fearful sobs. "From death, of course. With your deaths, I'll finally have the cure to aging, disease, and death of all kinds. You will provide the answer to immortality that humanity has been seeking for centuries." "Oh my God, you're a psychopath," the man spat. "I guess I'll know who will operate on first then, don't I?" Dr. King said sarcastically, grabbing a metallic instrument off a table from the sound it made and taking steps towards the back of the room. "Stay the fuck away from me, you freak," the man shouted, and it was at that point that Jake and I entered the room. As we walked in, I could see that the room was a laboratory of sorts. The walls were steel, and the floors were white granite. Bright fluorescent lights shone down on steel tables, where a woman stripped down to her bra and underwear was tied down on one table with steel manacles, and the other table was occupied by a man stripped to his boxer shorts, also tied by steel manacles. Walking towards him was Dr. Thomas King. The mad doctor was tall, lanky, with thin and wiry white hair that seemed to stand on an end after an electroshock of some sort. A pale white complexion and dark black eyes that made me think of a great white shark. He was wearing a blood-stained lab coat and tan slacks, and in his hand he had a bone saw that he was preparing to use on the man. "Dr. Thomas King, FBI, freeze!" Jake yelled. We pointed our weapons at him and watched as the mad doctor whirled in surprise, raising the saw above him and staring at us with accusing eyes. "How did you find me?" Dr. King asked simply. refusing to set the weapon down and talking to us as if this were a murder mystery being solved by a talking dog and his pals. You shouldn't have taken the saxitoxin from your office, Dr. King. Your boss noticed and informed us right away. You also left your gate open, which led us right into this place. Now drop the saw and place your hands on your head now, Jake shouted. That fucking snitch Fisher. I'll be sure to kill him first in the new world, King seemed to mutter to himself more than to us. Then he looked up at us and said, Don't you understand yet? If you have been following my crimes, you should know what it is I'm trying to do. Put it down, Doctor, now, I yelled, stepping closer to him and raising my pistol toward his chest. I will not be stopped. I will save humanity. The world will forever know me as Dr. Thomas King, savior of humanity, and the only way that can happen is with this final sacrifice. Dr. King charged at us then, and both Jake and I never hesitated, firing our guns and shooting the doctor in the chest. Blood sprayed the steel walls behind him, and he dropped to his knees, accidentally turning on the bone saw as he did so. Before I could move fast enough, he fell with a thud on the saw, and he was torn apart in the chest as the saw made its way through his body bloodily. I turned off the saw and looked down upon the serial killer I'd been chasing for weeks. Jesus Christ, partner, he tore himself fucking apart, Jake muttered, holstering his gun and moving towards the victims. The woman sobbed as he untied her, and she clung to him fiercely, thankful to be alive. Then she ran over to her boyfriend and began to release him from his shackles. Jake led the couple upstairs, telling me he would call for the backup that had not reached us yet in the corner. And I think I nodded, but I stayed behind, staring at this man's body and feeling more uneasy than I had before we entered the cellar. Even though he was dead, something still gnawed at me, as if his work was still going to continue, even after his death. I looked over the lab equipment spread on multiple tables in the large laboratory, and I saw all the different chemicals in beakers and tubes, and I shivered. And thus ends section 3 of chapter 2 of Epicenter, my zombie novella that I wrote. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys were listening on Podomatic or on iTunes, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast, as I upload podcasts, pretty more frequently lately than I have been. And after this Epicenter reading is complete, I will continue to upload podcasts on here. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all that. If you guys are watching on my YouTube channel right now, I want to say thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you'd like to see the previous chapter and the previous section of this chapter, there is a playlist right now for these videos on my channel, so please go check that out. In the comments below, tell me what you think is going to happen next. How do you think this is going to lead into the zombie apocalypse? Leave your comments and theories down below and tell me what you guys think so far. I appreciate you guys' support and listening. And I will see you guys in my next vlog and in the next episode of the podcast. This is Anthony Avina. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you for section 4 of chapter 2 of Epicenter. Peace.